All right, we're back for chapter 5. Chapter 5 is titled Who Really Wants to Be Ordinary, which is sort of the tagline for the whole book, right? I don't know. The squirrels are screaming like the Vikings are invading. Could it be a cougar? Wasn't there a cougar sighting in Jackson Bottom last summer? Hannah waited quietly at the dinner table, her eyes trained on the storm-tossed trees, her ears trained on the reply from the policewoman answering her mother on the phone. She couldn't quite understand what the policewoman said, but from the way her mother said, "Oh," I could guess that screaming wasn't a normal squirrel reaction to cougars. Besides, Hannah was pretty sure she knew who the squirrels were screaming at. Last time she checked, cougars didn't wear blue bathrobes. Hannah shifted her grip on the pencil she held pressed against her drawing notebook. Just a little shift of her t-shirt, or just that little shift of her t-shirt smeared more antibacterial cream across her back and her shoulders and made the t-shirt fabric stick to her skin. Her blackberry scratches were not amused. She twisted her face at the pain. Pulling her gaze from the big picture window framing the Harewood, Hannah turned her attention back to her drawing. She began adding the details. The twists of his greasy hair, the shading that made the hollows of his cheeks. She drew in the torn seam at the shoulder of his robe. The eyes weren't right. She went after them with her eraser and her lead, making them wider and wilder. She stared at the picture. Clang, 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 the sword against the golden gate. She couldn't remember the whole chant, not precisely, but the words tickled around in the dark caverns of her mind where forgotten things hid. She couldn't stop thinking about it, just a little afraid of what forgotten things might come out of those dark caves if she kept poking at the memory. Cameron came rumbling down the stairs. He ran to the back door, his remote control spy car in his hand. The second he laid his hand on the deadbolt, Mom interrupted her conversation with the policewoman. "Don't you dare go out there!" Cameron raised the car in her direction, then unlocked the door, set the car outside, and closed the door again, locking it. Mom nodded in understanding as Cam used his video remote to drive the car back toward the garden gate. Hannah had never understood why the toy was called a spy car. Sure, it could take secret videos, but driving it made more noise than the screaming squirrels. "Can you at least send someone to take a look in the woods? That man shook my daughter up pretty badly." More like that man had shaken Mom up pretty badly. Hannah traded her pencil for the cup of hot cocoa in front of her. Hot cocoa on the first day of summer break. It could almost top the kitty honor guard and the screaming squirrels outside. Her mom's pacing had moved from the kitchen area to the dining room. She stopped next to Hannah, reached over her shoulder and spun the sketch of the blue bathroom man to face her. "Yeah, my daughter has a pretty good sketch of the guy if your people want to take a look at it." "All right, we'll wait for your call." Mom flicked off her phone and tossed it on the table. "They're sending someone to check out the woods. They're going to give us a call when they're done," she reported. Hannah nodded. "I can't get my car through the blackberry brambles," Cam complained. "I'm pretty sure the raccoon family has a path that comes out by the wisteria," Hannah offered. She stood up with her cocoa and walked around the table to the window, pulling her t-shirt away from the slime on her back. She leaned against the windowsill. Pretty soon, her mother and her brother were standing next to her. Clang, 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 the arrow against the shield. The hero waits within. Hannah rubbed her fingers against her temple and took another sip of her cocoa. The storm made the trees of the Harewood dance wildly, even dangerously. All three of them eyed Big Ben warily. Before the destruction, when Harewood had been a big, beautiful forest, the smaller trees around the edges had provided protection against the wind for the tall, spindly fir at the center. Now Big Ben creaked and bled in the storm winds that came over the hills from the ocean. "Just let him fall the other way when he goes," Mom murmured into her own cocoa. "Yeah," Cam agreed. That's what happens when you chop the old places down, Hannah said. Her mother chuckled. And just where would you propose all these people live? She asked, gesturing toward their neighbors. Things have to change sooner or later. There's no stopping that. Hannah frowned. Yeah, I know, but don't you think that a lot of times when they change, they get less... She flailed her hand around, not coming up with the right word. Maybe just less, Cam suggested. I kind of get what you mean. It's hard for kids like us to picture this whole huge neighborhood belonging to just one family. It's hard to imagine the woods without bike trails and graffiti. It seems like back then it was just more. That's totally what I mean, Hannah agreed. The forest was more magical because people hadn't ripped it all up, and there was more space for people to do amazing things because there weren't so many people around. When you and the neighbor guy, Trevor, were talking, you said that John D. Hare was an Oregon congressman and a senator. He did big things. He could be special. He could be a hero, just like in the poem. When their mother laughed, she sounded a little sad. Hannah knew that her mother and brother understood the weird, achy longing in her chest. Yeah, her mother murmured, sometimes it seems like the world was big enough for heroes back then. And now it is all chopped up into little tiny pieces. Too many people, too little room for anybody to be anybody special anymore. There's an old saying, when everybody's special, nobody's special. But who really wants to be ordinary? Apparently not us, Cam joked, and they all chuckled. Well, there was certainly nothing ordinary about today, her mother agreed. No kidding, Hannah said, there was a smile returning to her face. The doorbell rang. Mom set down her mug on the table behind her, grabbed Hannah's drawing, and trotted off to answer the door. I really need to call your father after this. Hannah and Cam hung back a bit as Mom talked to the two officers so packed with equipment and safety gear that they couldn't put their arms down at their sides. We came in from opposite ends of the woods, but we didn't see anybody back there, ma'am, the shorter one told them. Those squirrels, though, if anyone had been back there, they'd have cleared out long before we got there. I had my earplugs in the whole time I was back there, and my ears are still ringing, the taller officer said, rubbing at her ears. Sorry we couldn't be more help tonight, but be sure to call us right away if you see him again. The short officer took a picture of Hannah's drawing with her phone, and they said goodnight. Hannah, Cameron, and their mother watched the door close. I don't feel better, Hannah said. Cam draped an arm over her shoulder. Mom walked over and wrapped them both in a tight hug. Me either, Hannah-Banna. Guess we'll be using those night lights tonight, won't we? Hannah didn't answer, but just snuggled closer in with her brother and her mother. That's the end of chapter 5, getting so close to the big ending. So we'll be back next time with chapter 6, and I hope you're out there having some awesome adventures that you created out of your imagination too. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.